Okay, looks like we've got a few people coming in.
Yeah, we've still got some people showing up.
Hi, Bryn. Hi, Bryn. Hi. Hey, do you want to be the board member on the spot?
I guess I do. Should I hang up?
I was going to ask either Tony or Randy because they've done it before, but would you like to open today's session and just introduce yourself and just for a couple minutes say why you're volunteer your precious time for ESLT?
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
Wow. If I had known, I would have prepared something wonderful.
I know, but it'd be wonderful now, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm Bryn Puther, and I am Tony Taylor and Cheryl Taylor's daughter. So I have known about ESLT since the very, very beginning. I grew up mostly on the East Coast, but as a young child, backpacking in McGee Creek and Mammoth, and fell in love with that neck of the woods. I now live over in the Bay Area and make it over to Mammoth as often as I can. I work at the Nature Conservancy and have spent my life in conservation as well, professionally. And I love the Eastern Sierra Land Trust. It keeps me connected over there. I think the staff are exceptional. The board is just such a devoted group of people. And I get super excited about what we can accomplish and grow as an organization and change as we need to with the world around us. So I'm honored to serve on the board.
Thanks, Bryn. And you guys, that just shows that's one tiny bit of the high quality leadership on this board for me to just, here, Bryn, catch. It's a ball on fire and you get it. So thank you, Bryn. And we do have Tony here with us today. Raise your hand, Tony. And we've got Randy here. And then for staff, we've got Carissa and Heather. And I thought I saw, oh yeah, Amanda, there she is. Hi, Amanda. Amanda's our development coordinator. With such a small group, if we want, I think maybe let's just, we're gonna take you off Zoom right now so we can have a more interactive chat. And if anyone has background noise, you know, if you could mute yourself or we'll mute you, we'll go from there. And we just had Cami, who is our part-time finance manager, join us too. She's on the phone. Thanks, Cami. So I just wanted to say, hey, how's everybody doing with that thing called COVID? I hope everyone is safe and healthy. And I want to make sure to thank, if any of you are first responders or anyone in your family or you know anybody is a first responder, please give them our, let them know how much we appreciate them and show our gratitude. There's a lot of people on the front lines giving a lot for all communities. And I don't want any of us to take that for advantage. So let's see, what's happened since March or so for Eastern Sierra Land Trust? It's been kind of a wild ride. Our board had a board meeting on March 14th. And at that board meeting, where there was just 4 of us in person and the rest on Zoom, we did make the decision, or the board made the decision, to close our office. We thought the most important thing was for the safety of staff and our board members and our community members, of course, who pop in as well. So we closed our office, but we didn't close our work, obviously. The first thing we did after we closed the office was to help everybody be able to work, because we didn't have the systems in place where people were working remotely. Only myself and Suze, our lands director, had that capability of remoting into our computers at the office. So that took, I've got to tell you, a little bit, you know, a week or two to get all that set up, because the tech company that we work with, who could help us set up the secure remote channels, well, they also were doing Mono County's secure channels. They were working on Mono County's police department secure channels. We were their first nonprofit that they worked on, and they got to us within a week. But still, it was a little bit of a process, because staff all went home on Friday, thinking they were coming back to work on Monday. And they got a text on Sunday saying, oh, guess what? The office is closed. We're having our staff meeting tomorrow morning via Zoom. And just think, if you're planning to come back to your office, all those like little pieces of paper that are, well, I'm a sticky person, I don't know about other people, all the little stickies with phone numbers, you're gonna call someone. So we had to figure out how to get that information and files that were on desks to staff in a secure way. Carissa and I worked really hard to set new policies in place to help us all be safe. So we had to set a COVID policy on what were our guidelines, what were our rules for staff. And we set that up and we submitted it to Inyo County, and we were approved by Inyo County to reopen per our policy. And our policy, which currently stands, is we have one person in the office at a time, and we wait 3 days between people in the office. And that's the same for our vehicles if people use the ESLT vehicles. We're being extra conservative, we know that, but it's just a way to be safe. And our office is adorable and cute and charming and small. So we just know that we probably won't be all working back together at one time again for a while. During that time, we also, every year we have an external annual audit. Because we get certain amount of money and funds, we do an audit, and we do it every year. And this year, sure enough, it was early April, just a couple weeks after we closed, and we successfully had a remote audit where there were 5 of us that day working on it. And there were 5 different locations. The auditor, Sacramento, her team was Oakland, I think it was, and we had Cammie up in Topaz, Carissa at her home in Bishop, and me at my home in Round Valley. So we did it, we came through, we knew we would, but it just, you know, a few extra little curveballs when you're trying to retrieve papers and you're not at the office to retrieve papers. We also did apply for a Paycheck Protection Program grant/loan, and we worked very closely with our local community bank, Eastern Sierra Community Bank, and we were approved and funded in the first round of the PPP. Those funds have gone, the majority of them went for staff salaries, with a little bit going to our overhead. But that's just a tremendous help in this year where we don't know what's happening and what we, you know, what our fundraising is going to be like. Because at that same time, we had all spring filled out with events. You know, all of our outreach happens in March and April and May, our big outreach and events. We had a beautiful event planned up at Blue in Mammoth. We were going to rent the whole restaurant. It was going to be this great, fantastic event. Well, obviously, all of that was canceled. So we pivoted immediately. This is mostly with Marie in terms of, and just Fran and Michael, so you know you're not on mute.
Oh,
yeah, just FYI, we're throwing you a curveball today. So we pivoted all of like our pollinator program, everything that we do, that's usually multiple events in person, and we transitioned it to multiple virtual events. So we had all of our guest speakers come on for an hour, and we had people join these events from all over the country, all over the state. It was really exciting to see the broad appeal that our topics had. And if you're interested in those, I know a couple people participated in those. If you're interested in them, they are on our website, and they're actually in the portal for Lands and Legacy. So you can see them. There's a list of pre-recorded events if you're interested. We had soil scientists and butterflies and native plant experts, and it was super exciting. And then at the same time, we kept the hardcore work going, the eye on the prize. So during this, we closed, I think many of you probably know that we, as was the plan all along for our Swall Wildlife Preserve, which is up in Swall Meadows, when we originally accepted that donation, the whole plan was to eventually give it to the state of California, have it be in public ownership. So that was completed in April. Also in April, we completed selling. We usually purchase. We sold a wetland reserve easement over our property at Black Lake. So when you own something, because we, you know, Black Lake Preserve was gifted to us by Michelle Browner, and she, her vision for it was that it not change, that she wanted to open it up to the public. She wanted people to be able to come and enjoy it and feel the magic that she felt in being out there and experiencing that place. So to follow through with her wishes for the property, the board decided to sell a wetland reserve easement over Black Lake, which means it is another layer of protection on Black Lake. So just in case, we have an easement that we have to adhere to, that Natural Resource Conservation Service that we purchased, they bought it from us. So we are the recipient of some funds that are going to go to help us do stewardship forever. So what that is, just like when we buy conservation easements from other folks, it's a layer of protection that goes over the property that sets certain restrictions. And in this case, because it's a wetland reserve easement, there's more restrictions than even on a conservation easement. Hi, Robert. So, so we completed that, and gosh darn, what else did we do? Oh yeah, well, I think everybody here knows, just last week we did close on a conservation easement at the Honeywell Ranch up in Bridgeport Valley. So it's been a wild 6 months. Oh, I almost tripped on my dog. We're very excited about everything we've been doing. We obviously can't do any of this without you guys. And I just want to see if you've got any questions on anything. I think I tried to give a pretty quick, broad brushstroke of everything, not everything, but a lot of what we've been doing. And I'm wondering if you've got any questions. Should we unmute everybody, or how do you want to do this? Anyone have any questions for us? Come on.
I'll go, okay.
Okay, yay, thank you. Was that Don?
Yeah,
Okay.
how do you choose which properties you focus on? How does that whole process work?
Oh, great idea, great question.
And how do you prioritize those?
Great question. So there's a bunch of different things that happen. As an accredited land trust, which we're accredited, it's a very rigorous process that we go every 5 years to be accredited. With that, we have to spell out all of our entire processes. So we have criteria sheets for every potential project. These projects may come to us, and staff fills out these sheets, and it's multiple types of documents on risk assessment, conservation values, the size, perhaps the ongoing, not management of it, but the monitoring expenses of it over time. And then once that's filled out, then it goes to our lands committee. The structure of our land trust is we work through committees. So it goes to our lands committee. They go through all the materials, the maps, the vetting, all of that. And if they think it's a worthy project, then it moves forward to our board of directors to address. And then the board of directors reviews the same materials and decides whether it goes forward. Now that kind of answers your question once it comes to us, but how do they come to us? Are we going out and asking landowners to do conservation easements? Right now, we are not. We have quite a queue of projects. I would just say that we've, certainly the ranchers in certain areas are seeing that when a conservation easement gets placed on their neighbor's ranch and they watch it for 4 or 5 years and they say, oh gosh, I don't see anything changing. They have, people aren't crawling all over the place trying to check in what they're doing all the time. It's a model that works, and then they're approaching us right now. It doesn't mean that we might have a conversation somewhere and you follow up on something, but generally right now, we're fielding a lot of phone calls from local landowners. Did that answer your question?
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I thought I saw someone else's arm go up.
I think Bryn had a question.
I hate to bring this up because this is the week of celebration and there are many weeks to come. Honeywell was a great win for so many reasons. But what is next? Like, what do you see through the fall besides just surviving this
yeah.
crazy world of ours? Is there anything on the horizon or directions that you want to head as the executive director?
Oh, thanks, Bryn. I think we do have some land projects that we're continuing to shepherd forward. Again, we don't talk about those at this stage, and we wait till they get a little bit more public. We're hopeful. They went before the Board of Supervisors a couple of weeks ago, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to complete those transactions by the end of the year. So that's one thing. In terms of, I'll say ESLT is going to be stepping in, and please forgive me because I haven't done enough training on this. I'm always worried I'm going to use the wrong words. So we know that ESLT wants to step into being better at diversity, inclusion, and justice and equity. So we have hired a consultant. I got a grant from the Land Trust Alliance to pay for some of it. And I signed the contract last week. And once we get through Lands and Legacy, we're going to be working with staff and board as the first phase to start having conversations and talking and seeing what this might look like for ESLT in our community here. And then also the big eye on the prize, kind of like what Bryn said, we have a strong value of staff here, that we value them, and we do not want to lose any staff. So we have made the board set this tone, the direction to do everything we can to keep our staff. So we have made that commitment, and I'm hoping we're going to uphold it for, so that's the big thing, fundraising, right? I mean, to make sure that we can keep everything going. We've pulled back on some expenses, obviously, because we're not doing some things, but we still have an office that sits there. We still have the heat on or the air conditioning on. We still have all the equipment there, and we have one person in there, every 3 days. But I'm confident. I'll just throw a little pitch out. Don't forget to come to the paddle race on Thursday night then. That's a fun thing that we've got signed up. But I would think those are the biggest things that I can think of. There's one more thing that's kind of hard to articulate, and I bet every one of us are feeling it. This world that keeps shifting underneath our feet, the constant lack of equilibrium, the constant trying to adjust to what this new world is, what's the new situation, what's the new challenge. It can be exhausting. So what we're trying to do for all of us is make sure we're doing self-care, and that when we can, we're stepping back just a little bit to breathe and handle other things while keeping our eye on the prize and moving things forward. What else you got for me?
I'll go again, Kay.
All right, yay.
What are some of the challenges in the work that you do? And we'll go with the highlights to end on a positive note. I can only imagine, but just curious.
Yeah. So I think you're thinking about the land transactions, those projects, yeah. So the challenges might be seasonal timing. Maybe we think we want to get, we want to meet the landowner to go out and have the initial conversation. And I'll say about 6 years ago, Aaron, who used to be our lands director, and I went out and we met the Sharani brothers. That's a project we closed about 2.5 years ago. And it was a beautiful January day, blue skies. We had just had a snowstorm. There was 3 feet of snow everywhere. It was gorgeous, but we sat in their truck for 4 hours and I froze because you couldn't just run the truck for 4 hours. But it's, so a challenge is seasonal. Sometimes we also want to get an appraiser out on the land to start that part of the transactional process. and they can't go out if there's snow on the ground, or they can't go out if it's a muddy time of the year. And they have other work too. So that's a big challenge, is timing of everything. Securing the funds to purchase the acquisitions, the conservation easements. We've been incredibly fortunate. We've been amazingly fortunate, not lucky, because we work really hard at these grants and we've got strong staff doing them. We have got good financials, but it's, you know, when you're looking for millions and millions of dollars and you have to get federal funds and then you match it with state funds and then you supplement it with private funds, that can also be quite challenging. And then of course, there's the value, right, of the conservation easement. And that is always a catchy spot, because the art of the appraisal, I have no idea how they do it. I mean, I know how they're supposed to do it, but I don't always know if appraisals are weird and they're challenging. And sometimes they come in at a spot where it just doesn't work for the family. The family, they may have altruistic feelings about this. It's also a business and they are looking to get X amount out. And if we can't fit that model, then the whole thing goes apart. So that's a big one we stress over constantly, to fingers crossed there. And then it's just trying to get everything else lined up to get done before the end of the grant term. There's a lot of pieces, and I mentioned this earlier today, so I apologize for repeating it for folks who are on the one at noon. But the Honeywell Ranch conservation easement that we just closed on, it's been in their family, I think, for over 160 years. So there's, and it wasn't all just one piece, right? There are different pieces purchased over different times and different things that happened to it with it. So just think of that title report that you get from the escrow company. Think of all the potential title things that might need cleaned up or checkboxed with a property that's been owned by the same family for 160 years. So there's just lots of little pieces that can be quite challenging. Sometimes it's literally working with the escrow company, making sure the papers are full. Again, we work with an attorney to help make sure everything's appropriate and, you know, dotted I's and crossed T's, and, you know, getting on her schedule. Like at the end of the year when we're going to be trying to close 2 projects, we're not the only land trust or landowners trying to get projects closed by the end of the year, and it becomes quite the challenge of moving pieces then. And I'll just quickly say the challenge. Okay, I'm sorry. Almost everybody here knows me. I'm almost going to cry here. The feeling of accomplishment when you can carry that project across the finish line and know that it's now permanently protected forever. I mean, like forever. That's going to be like that. And that's huge. And that wipes away all the sleepless nights and the tears, because there's a fair amount of crying at night sometimes, right? When you, how are you going to get that appraisal through? How are you going to get this done with the fund? You know, it's not the landowners. I just want to say it's usually with, you know, other entities. The landowners are lovely to work with. So, did that answer your question? Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a question of Heather and Amanda and Carissa, who are the 3 staff members from the land trust, who normally are in the office together, normally several months ago. How are you doing? How is your work when you're working at home the way you are almost all the time?
I can go first. Yeah, of course, there's definitely challenges. You know, we had to get up to speed on Zoom and Slack and all kinds of technology and adjust processes that we would just hand papers back and forth or just, you know, step down the hall and talk to someone. So we had, you know, just a lot of adapting to making all of those interactions and the information passing happen digitally and while we're remotely. So I think, you know, we've got a great team, as everyone said so many times, that it's been, you know, we've really been able to help allow room for that process to develop. And I think I think it's working. We're getting so much done that that's my take on it.
Yeah, I agree with Heather. I feel like in the beginning it was a little overwhelming trying to learn all these new things, and now I almost like forget that it's almost like coming to me naturally now. I was at first a little overwhelmed because I'm so used to just like turning around and bothering Heather all the time, and now I'm like, wait, she's not right here. But which she probably likes. Now I can't just like poke her back all the time. But yeah, I think it's better now.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with both Amanda and Heather. It did take a while to fully adapt to this. And for the first couple of months, I felt myself kind of going back and forth. Like I felt comfortable. I felt like I was getting it. And then the next week, I felt like I was starting all over again. But now it's kind of just like I have my routine in the morning. I get set up. I make myself a cup of tea. Communicating has been the hardest part, but as a team overall, I think we are doing a great job. Of course, we miss like that physical environment. Like Amanda just said, being able to actually physically touch Heather on the back, like walking into Kay's office, and just all those various things, like the smell of the office, going to get your lunch. It's just completely different, and I'm sure we all do miss that a little bit, but we are adapting pretty well.
Yeah, I definitely miss all the puppies.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Fran.
Hey, Kate. Well, I'm sort of curious maybe about the flip side of that question. With all the process and tech changes you all have had to make to respond to the pandemic, are there some capabilities or practices you'd like to continue post-pandemic in the name of work-life balance, or?
What's that? No, the great question. There have been things. So one of the things we identified right off the bat when we closed the office is we were really concerned with everything that was in the media that was happening, that we were concerned that our supporters and donors might think we shut our doors and that we were going away and we weren't continuing to do the work. So we set about some practices. We started some additional postcard mailings to give people updates, and we started, Heather really led this charge where we did some chats we did things like this periodically and invited people to come to them so that we could make sure we were being human, being real, and sharing what we were doing and trying to inspire folks that we're still here. It's just looking different, but we're still doing the hard work. We really are. So, and I think we're going to keep those because it's amazing how we can connect with people from so many different places so easily. It's so much easier than trying, oh, let's have coffee one day, or Kay, go some. I mean, there's nothing that's going to supplant one-on-ones when we can do it. I mean, but until then, and to supplement that work, these type of chats have been quite successful. And I'll say the pollinator workshop, we might keep that, some components of that virtual, because we had people, like I say, sign in from all over California. People loved it. So I think we'll keep doing that. Thanks, Janet. Anyone else? You guys are easy today.
Actually, I have a question. I'm
right.
just kind of curious when we're going to start the pollinator garden certification process again. Do you think that's foreseeable in the near future, or wait until next year?
Well, it never stopped. We are certifying gardens right now. So we're going to certify, I think it's 12 this year. Our goal is always 20, but I think the fact that we're certifying any in 2020 is simply amazing. We've been able to do the practice virtually. And then just recently, Marie's been doing a few on-site visits in a very safe way. So we'll have 12 that we'll be completing by the end of September.
You guys can add me to that list if there's room or time.
Okay, I will have, Marie will call you tomorrow. Well, depending on her schedule, I'll let her know tomorrow. Oh my God. Oh, Brian, there's your beautiful daughter. Well, I know we're about at our time. I'd be glad to stay longer and answer anything. We have, thank you, some sponsors. We wanted to make sure we thank everybody, especially since we've got 2 with us today, Tony and Cheryl and Eastern Sierra Community Bank. And couldn't do it without folks, right? So thank you so much. And then I think everybody's got the link into the rest of the, not the linked in, but the link to get in to the rest of the events. Here you go. We've got a story hour tonight if you're interested, and you can attend, and then you can see the events for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Tomorrow, we're having a wildlife chat tomorrow night. The author of Miracle Country, if folks have read that book, it's simply amazing. She's a local author writing about the specialness of the region. And then Wednesday, we're having a chat with the history with Bill Bramlett. And then the Bio Blitz finale on Thursday and the paddle race. So I really hope you can join us Thursday night. We've never done it virtually. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll test it out and we'll see. But really appreciate you coming. And are there any additional questions anyone would like to say? And if not, you can always send emails, to me or anybody, and we'll be glad to answer them as well. Well, alrighty then. Thanks for coming, and I hope to see you at Story Hour, which may be half an hour, but we'll see you in a bit at 5, right, Heather? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Kate.
Thanks.
Bye, see you all then.
Thanks,
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.